I didn't enjoy this film as much as I was hoping, but to be fair, part of that might be my own fault. I watched The Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, and I'm gonna go over my spoiler-free thoughts, and then after that, I'll get into my spoiler thoughts. A psychiatrist familiar with the knife-wielding dream demon Freddy Krueger helps teens at a mental hospital battle the killer who is invading their dreams. And before everyone grabs their pitchforks, I don't think this is a bad film, but I personally just never could really get into it or enjoy it as much as I feel most other people seem to do. Before I fully get into my reasoning why I wasn't a big fan of this film, I do think it's important to mention that I watched this film pretty early in the morning, so I might have not been full of energy, and so that could have impacted my enjoyment or investment in this film. That's just a possibility. I'm not fully sure, and maybe when I rewatch it, I'll enjoy it more. I don't think this is a bad film, but I wish this film would have focused a bit more on the main characters and their backgrounds and get a little more in depth with their backstory and relationship with each other. I think if they focused a little more on that or gave a little bit more time to that, I would have cared for the characters more and maybe be able to relate to them a little more. This film is also pretty goofy, or at least there are some pretty goofy scenes, and I'm not quite sure how I feel about this yet. I can see myself rewatching it and enjoying it, and maybe next time I'm going in knowing it's going to be a bit goofier. I think I had an idea it was going to be a little goofy, but I wasn't fully sure. I thought the dream sequences in this film were pretty cool and visually like a lot of fun. I definitely enjoyed them a lot more than A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. If you see my review on that, you know I was pretty disappointed, but this one definitely has more fun visuals. And there are some honestly grosser scenes out there. There's this one particular scene that might trigger anyone with trypophobia or the fear of holes, and I really like that scene. I do wish we had a couple more gory or gross scenes, but like that's not a big deal. That's just more of a personal taste, and there are still some fairly graphic scenes, and I don't think it really needs more. I'm just saying I would have enjoyed maybe a little more. This film also explores the lore of Freddy Krueger a bit more, and I enjoyed that. I don't know exactly how I feel about how it explored Freddy Krueger's lore, but I think I'm leaning more towards a positive, and I'm at least glad that we got to learn a little bit more about Freddy Krueger. I also enjoyed the fact that this film really seemed to focus on a group of characters instead of just like one or two characters. Though, like I said before, I do think they could have done the relationships in depth to the characters a bit better, or at least had more time with the characters. I guess at the end of the day, I think this film was a pretty solid or pretty good film, but my enjoyment and investment wasn't the best. I could see myself enjoying this film a lot more in the future after a rewatch. Okay, now I'm gonna go over my spoiler filled thoughts, so a big spoiler warning. I'm not fully sure how I feel about how the characters in this film were connected to Elm Street, with them being children of the people who burned Freddy Krueger. It makes sense. I'm not fully sure though personally just how I feel about that. But I'm at least glad there is a reason. I was really wondering during most of this film, like how is this gonna tie into Elm Street? And I think it was cool to have Nancy from the first film back in this film. I'm not fully sure how I feel about how goofy this film is, like the whole Dream Warriors part, especially like Taryn White's dream character and Will Stanton's. I could see this eventually becoming a positive after I give it some time or rewatch it. I thought Taryn White's death in this film was pretty cool with the holes in her arms. Like, it definitely could trigger someone with, the fear of holes. I also really liked Philip's death, the one where he has like his veins out of his arms and he's like being controlled like a puppet by Freddy Krueger. I thought that was really cool. Okay, those are my thoughts. I would love to know your opinion on this film if you've seen it, and I'm pretty excited to watch A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, give you my thoughts on that film. I have a bunch of exciting videos that I can't wait to, record and show you guys. So with that, bye.